The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Very good morning to you, John, and thank you for joining us. Now, let's start talking about all things. The celebrations of the UAE National Day and what's been going on with the British Business Group.
I mean, firstly, happy 49th birthday to the UAE. What a journey it's been, and I think there's enormous anticipation for the big golden jubilee next year. But for now, let's concentrate on a real sweet spot for this year, which is well needed, as we all know.
Exactly, it is. And it's been lots of big developments recently, hasn't it? The new rules coming in, 100% ownership. I'm pretty sure there must be a very, very positive sentiment amongst your own members at the moment. And it's even more to celebrate the festivication.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, this is a bold move under wise leadership. It's sort of reminiscent, really, not that I was here then, but back in the 1980s when the open skies policy was launched for the aviation industry, and that was a global game changer. My honest belief, or our honest belief, is this is too, from a foreign direct investment perspective, which is the area in which I work for my day job, aside from BBG, is very excited about that. It's great news, very bold.
And you've been around for a while, as if we're not mistaken. It's been since 1998. Things were a lot different back then, weren't they?
Well, they were. Abdul Karim, you're quite right. I arrived here in '98 with my young family, as they were at the time, to open a foreign branch of a UK business in Dubai, actually, but to cover the UAE and wider region. And of course, I didn't have a network here, and probably the best piece of advice I was first given when I arrived on the ground, speaking to a lawyer that I'd been introduced to, and he said, "John, you should join the BBG." And I said, "What? The BB what? What's that?" He said, "It's the British Business Group, Dubai and Northern Emirates." And incidentally, a big hello to our Sharjah members, whom there are many while we're on there. And so I was introduced to this group, and it enabled me to make a contact base and build a network to help me set up this business. So lawyers, accountants, recruiters, all those you can imagine. And some have become personal friends over the sort of preceding 22 years. But certainly to build a network, that's what I found most useful for a group such as BBG. And members joining this week want exactly the same thing. Of course, there's a wider value proposition of market intelligence and putting companies together for real business opportunities. But it's that building of a network and being part of a community that's been really so supportive.
That's amazing to see. And talk to us about, on a personal level as well. For back in the days, the Jumeirah Beach Road and the Diafa Street used to be the hangout spots, and before the big concrete malls. But life was very simple back then. If you've got any early memories of first moving to the United Arab Emirates, it would be great if you can share that as well.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, we lived down in Jumeirah, and the children were 8 and 6 when we first got here. And I remember, the Jumeirah Beach Road. It was just fascinating. It was all. It wasn't a sand track. I won't go that far, but it was. It was fairly basic, and you could see the sea all the way down. And I remember you'd go as far as Jumeirah Beach Hotel had just been built because the Chicago Beach Motel, which I had visited before, had been demolished. And then the next hotel was way up, which is now the Royal Meridian in Marina, which was the Forte Grand, and it was just one building on its own. And I remember my wife used to, we were living, as I say, in Jumeirah. If we wanted to post letters back home to family, we didn't really know how to do it. So she'd drive all the way to the Forte Grand and ask Winston, the concierge there, to post the letters for her. So that's quite a nice one. The other stories I remember, driving to Abu Dhabi to explore there, and it was all speed bumps and camels back in those days. So I mean, people talk about the tremendous progress of the country over the 49 years, but in the last 10 years in particular. But over a 20-year span, it is quite incredible. You have to pinch yourself sometimes to think. And now my kids left for after secondary education and did their own things in Europe and UK, etc. But are now back here, married themselves, and we have 3 grandchildren here. So a real made in Dubai family.
Wow, what a success story for expat communities is to take back as well, isn't it? Now, if I were to lastly ask you, because you do run a very important group, lots of investors willing to come into the country, lots of them willing to invest in Sharjah as well. What do you talk to them about? What do you tell them about selling the United Arab Emirates? And if you could talk about Sharjah in particular as well, that could be great. So what's your point to them about the United Arab Emirates?
I guess we lead with safe, secure jurisdiction that now has an infrastructure in place, throughout the UAE and, Sharjah, very much so. Having that infrastructure of education, communication, transportation, the ability to get around in normal circumstances. Obviously, it's been a crazy year this year. But also, really importantly, the ability to connect at all levels between business and government. So by that I mean local and federal government, and in our case, with UK government as well. For example, we have a UK Minister for Trade who arrived in town early yesterday morning and leaves late tomorrow evening, and is meeting senior business leaders as well as local and federal government. I know he's meeting some people in Sharjah as well. So I think that's a really strong connection, and the history of Britain here, even pre the Union, I think is very important. But we have to work hard to maintain that position. But yeah, safe, secure jurisdiction. Now with some changes in the civil and personal law, as well as from a federal perspective, as well as the commercial companies law, as you mentioned, for 100% ownership, it's really pretty attractive proposition. So businesses basing themselves in the UAE, whether it be Dubai, Sharjah, Northern Emirates, to be able to operate regionally makes absolute sense.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, John. If I can have one final statement on wishing everyone a happy National Day, we could go ahead with that.
Well, again, it's thanks to the wise leadership, the rulers and government of the UAE and all 7 Emirates. You have an extremely grateful expatriate population, and we look forward to the next 50. Maybe not me personally, but certainly the British Business Group.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much for that, John. And we wish you a happy National Day too.
You too. Have a great
Perfect.
day.
Okay, well, that was great. Thanks for that. Thanks for spending some time with us. And we should add this. Yeah, we should add this on the 1st of December. I think that's the plan for the producers. But yeah, thank you very much.
I look forward to it. Really good to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Great. Thanks very much. Cheers now.
Yeah, bye-bye.
If you liked this episode of the Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse